This journey unfolds across the stark outskirts of the Thar Desert near Jorbeer Conservation Reserve, a place where life survives not by abundance but by intelligence. We move slowly through this terrain in a Mahindra Bolero, guided along sand heavy trails that shift with the wind. There are no fixed roads, only pale tracks pressed into the earth, sometimes disappearing entirely. The vehicle climbs gentle dunes, dips into shallow sand bowls, and occasionally pushes through dry grasslands that crackle beneath the tires. The weather sets the mood. The sky is an uninterrupted blue, and a cold desert breeze flows constantly, sharpening the senses and carrying the smell of dust and winter air. The desert feels open, exposed, and honest. Wildlife appears quietly, almost unexpectedly. A desert fox slips into view slender, light footed with strikingly large ears built to release heat and detect movement beneath the sand. It pauses, listens, and vanishes as quickly as it appeared. In the distance, a nilgai, the blue bull, moves with a surprising grace. Despite its size, it remains alert and cautious, grazing briefly before lifting its head to scan the horizon. Nearby, a small group of Indian gazelles, chinkara, move delicately across the flats. Their movements light and economical, perfectly adapted to conserve energy in this harsh land. Above us, the desert sky comes alive. Pale, almost ghostly pallid harriers sweep low over the ground, flying close enough to disturb insects before striking. Grasshoppers and dragonflies barely have time to react. Not far away, a pair of lagger falcons patrol the airspace, fast, sharp eyed hunters from the raptor family, using speed and precision rather than brute force. And then unexpectedly, the silence is broken. A Sukhoi Su-30 Mk-1 fighter aircraft cuts across the blue sky, its deep roar echoing over the desert floor. For a brief moment, ancient land and modern power share the same frame, raw earth below and advanced engineering above. On the ground, the desert teaches in quieter ways. Sanya grows low and tough, traditionally used to cool burns. Onte Cantelo survives by driving its strength deep underground. Its roots are used for cold and cough. Kimp releases a sap valued for treating eczema and skin disorders. Dhamasa, brewed as a decoction, is known as a tonic and purifier. Nothing here is decorative. Everything serves a purpose. This drive is not about speed or destination. It is about understanding how life, plant, animal, and human adapts when excess is stripped away. The desert does not feel empty anymore. It feels precise. The desert opens up slowly as the Bolero leaves firm ground behind. Sand trails ripple ahead, broken by dry grass and shallow dunes. The drive demands attention, knowing when to slow and when to push forward. Wildlife blends into the landscape. A desert fox appears briefly, its oversized ears tuned to smallest sounds. Further out, a nilgai stands watchful, strong yet cautious. A group of chinkara gazelles move together, light on their feet, never wasting energy. The sky adds its own drama. Pallid harriers skim low, hunting insects with smooth floating movements, while a pair of lagger falcons slice through the air, focused and fast, true raptors of open country. Then comes the unexpected roar of a Sukhoi fighter aircraft, tearing across the sky and reminding us how vast this airspace really is. Out here, distance behaves differently. The land stretches wide, sound travels far, and even small movements feel amplified. The desert doesn't rush to impress, it lets scale and silence do the work. What makes this place unique is not just the openness, but its role in the larger desert system. Jorbeer sits at a quiet intersection where migratory paths, feeding grounds, and open scrub converge. Life here is shaped by patterns that repeat year after year, even when nothing seems to move. The land carries subtle markers, flattened patches, disturbed soil, scattered remains that tell stories without words. This is a working landscape, not a preserved postcard. Everything here exists in response to something else: availability, timing, and necessity. Standing here, you realize Jorbeer is less about scenery and more about function. It doesn't perform for visitors, it simply continues doing what it has always done, supporting life in its own quiet, unsentimental way. Jorbeer, a regulated carcass disposal ground, evolved into an internationally important feeding site for scavenging raptors and was formally notified as a conservation reserve in 2008. During peak season, thousands of birds gather here. Studies and reports have counted raptor congregations in the thousands, but the site faces modern threats: plastic and human waste, contamination, and disturbance from the free roaming feral dogs, challenges that conservationists are actively trying to manage. What you are seeing here is a desert that has adapted alongside people. Jorbeer functions on timing: when livestock arrives, when scavengers gather, when the land resets itself. It's this predictability that turns an ordinary stretch of desert into a critical hub for birds that rely on reliability rather than abundance. Everything here runs on a rhythm. Jorbeer Conservation Reserve sits where human practice and wildlife needs meet, a working landscape shaped by people's livelihoods and by officials' stewardship. Centuries of local leather and livestock economy left a practical legacy here, designated disposal routes and collection points that later became formalized for conservation. Today you will notice infrastructure and patterns that read like management: lanes for trucks, low watch platforms, and routes used by researchers and forest staff to monitor change. Visit timing matters. Winter months bring the greatest activity, and local teams coordinate to keep this place functional while protecting surrounding villages. What you are seeing is not accidental wilderness, but an active managed system, a rare example of conservation built from community practice and policy working together.